She called me 2 nights ago to say I wouldn't be walking her down the aisle. She chose someone else, then hung up like I was just a guest. So I did the unthinkable, and I don't regret it. The wedding folder was on the kitchen table, just where I'd left it the night before. Black plastic, peeling at the edges, overstuffed with contracts, receipts, color swatches, vendor notes, and my neatly typed out speech titled, "For my daughter Maya." I stared at it while my coffee went cold. The house was quiet. Too quiet for a father whose daughter was getting married in 9 days. It should have been chaos. Calls from vendors, last-minute errands, Maya texting about a missing veil or emergency alterations. But it was quiet, because Maya wasn't speaking to me anymore. I didn't notice it at first, the gradual freezing out. She was just busy. Rehearsals, work, wedding planning, life. I figured she'd come around. She always did. But this time something was different. And 2 nights ago, I found out what it was. I had just gotten back from meeting the florist when she called. Not to chat, not to thank me for paying for her dream wedding. No. She called to inform me that she'd made a hard decision, that dad duties at the wedding were going to someone else. Her words, not mine. "I want Thomas to walk me down the aisle," she said, calm, like it was no big deal. Thomas, the man who left when she was 7, the man who came back into her life last year with smiles and apologies and stories of trying his best. The same Thomas who ghosted her birthdays for a decade, but now he gets to be the father of the bride. I didn't say anything for a long time. The silence stretched so long she asked if I was still there. I was, but something in me wasn't. I said, "Okay, that's all." I hung up, walked into my home office, opened the folder, and stared at it. That's where I've been since. See, this wedding wasn't just an event to me. It was penance, in a way. After the divorce, I tried so hard to keep Maya's life steady. Paid for her private school, skipped vacations to cover dance classes, stayed up late helping with college essays. I let her yell, blame, withdraw, all of it. I never retaliated. I just stayed. I figured love meant staying even when it hurt. But now she was choosing someone else to stand in the spot I'd earned. Not just financially, but spiritually, emotionally. I had fought for that spot with years of quiet sacrifice. So that night, I made one more decision. I called every vendor, every single one, told them the wedding was off. No raised voices, no threats, just quiet cancellations. This morning, Maya called in a panic. I didn't answer. She texted, "Dad, what are you doing? You can't just cancel the wedding." But the thing is, I can. And I did. Because if I wasn't her father in that moment, I wasn't about to keep paying for the performance of being one. I'm not proud. I'm not vindictive. But I am done begging to be enough for someone who's already replaced me in her heart. The folder's still on the table. I'm not sure why I haven't thrown it out yet. Maybe because some part of me is still standing at the edge of that aisle, waiting for a daughter who no longer sees me as the man who raised her. And maybe that part of me needs a little more time to let go. The fallout didn't come right away. First there was just silence. Then, 24 hours after the cancellations, my phone lit up with a flurry of messages. Maya, her fiancé, her mother, my ex-wife, Diane. Even her wedding planner, who suddenly discovered I wasn't just the checkbook. Everyone wanted to know what happened. I didn't reply. I didn't owe anyone an explanation, especially not after that call. But the silence? It didn't last. By the weekend, it wasn't just messages. It was voicemails. Long, frantic, accusatory. Diane's voice first. Shrill, controlled fury. "You've humiliated her. Do you even understand what you've done?" Oh, I understood. Then came Maya's text. "Dad, please, don't make this worse than it already is." As if I had started the fire. What broke me wasn't the words. It was that she didn't call me Dad anymore. She typed it like it was a formality, a placeholder. Back when she was little, she used to call me Daddy, even in middle school, when other kids switched to just Dad. She said it felt safer, like we had our own thing. Now I was just another problem to fix. I kept remembering the way she said it. "I want Thomas to walk me down the aisle," like it was nothing. Like it wasn't erasing 23 years of school pickups, midnight fevers, broken heart pep talks, and every dollar I scraped together so her day could feel perfect. "You understand, right?" she said. "I just feel closer to him now. Closer to the man who vanished when she was 7, the one who didn't call on her birthdays, who sent a single letter during her freshman year of high school, then disappeared again. But I stayed, through everything, and I was still the one paying for the wedding. Or at least I had been. I went into her old bedroom that night. Nothing had changed much. Pale blue walls, dance recital trophies collecting dust on the shelf. The corner of the closet still smelled faintly of that body spray she used to love in high school, vanilla sugar or something equally nostalgic. There was a shoebox under her bed. I knew it would still be there. Inside were the letters, handwritten cards I used to leave in her lunchbox before big tests, a note from when her cat died, a birthday card from when she turned 10, to the brightest light in my world. She kept them. That's what hit me hardest. She kept them, but still replaced me. Sunday, her fiancé called. First time he'd ever reached out directly, voice trembling like he was trying to sound calm, like he was the grown-up in this situation. "Look, Mr. Anderson," he said, "we all want what's best for Maya. This wedding means a lot to her, to all of us. I think maybe you just reacted emotionally. But this isn't the way. The way. As if there's a proper way to be erased. I hung up. That night, I finally answered Maya's call. Not to apologize, not to fight, just to listen. Why, Maya? I asked. Just tell me why. Her answer was soft, practiced, almost rehearsed. He's making an effort now. He's shown up for me this past year in ways I didn't expect. I just feel like this is a new chapter, and I want it to reflect that. And me? I asked. Where do I go? Silence. Then, please don't make me choose. But she already had. I didn't yell, didn't cry. I just said, I hope it's a beautiful wedding, truly. But I won't fund a day I'm not part of. And then, just before I hung up, I added the line that's been sitting on my chest for years. You can't trade fathers like rental tuxedos, Maya. The line hung between us, heavy. She didn't respond. I haven't heard from her since. The story went public 3 days later. I didn't post anything. Maya didn't either. But someone, probably Diane, leaked the disaster to one of those local community pages on Facebook. The version that spread wasn't true, of course. It never is. According to them, I'd blindsided my daughter a week before her wedding out of pure spite. That I'd pulled out as father of the bride because I couldn't stand her reconnecting with her biological father. That I took back my financial support out of jealousy. Jealousy. That word clung to me like cheap cologne. People started picking sides. Some distant relatives I hadn't heard from in years sent me polite but pointed texts. We're praying you come around. Others went quiet. I walked into my office Monday morning and 2 co-workers had clearly read the story. They didn't say anything. They didn't have to. That pity look, half concern, half suspicion, was louder than words. I was becoming that guy. The worst part? Maya still hadn't reached out. I waited, hoped, even feared she'd come to apologize, because I didn't know what I'd say if she did. But the silence between us became its own kind of verdict. A quiet confirmation that I had done something irreversible. I couldn't sleep. I kept pacing the house at night, stopping in doorways like I'd walked in on something, but it was just the stillness of a home that no longer had her laughter in it. I sat in the living room that Wednesday, staring at her graduation photo. That smile, that moment. I'd been so proud, not just of her achievements, but of the fact that she'd made it through everything without bitterness. I thought I had raised someone strong, but maybe all I'd done was teach her how to smile while walking away from people. That afternoon, Diane called again. I shouldn't have answered, but I did. You're humiliating her, she said flatly. She's been crying nonstop. Good, I said. I didn't mean it. Not fully, but part of me did. She trusted you, Diane went on. You said you'd be there for her wedding, no matter what. No, I said calmly. I said I'd be there for her. That includes telling her when she's wrong. She's not wrong, Diane snapped. She's just trying to heal. You're the one punishing her. There it was. The twist. You mean I'm not rewarding her betrayal? I asked. Click. She hung up. That night I got a package. It was left on my doorstep. No note. Just a small box, carefully taped. Inside was a pair of custom cufflinks I had ordered weeks ago for the wedding. Engraved, Maya's dad, always. I stared at them for a long time. They weren't a gift anymore. They were a relic, a joke, a memory of a role that had been recast while I was still on stage. I didn't cry. Instead, I took them upstairs, opened my dresser drawer, and slid them next to my old wedding ring, the one I hadn't worn in over a decade but couldn't quite throw away. Funny how symbols outlast the things they once stood for. Friday afternoon, she showed up. No call, no text. Just the sound of tires on gravel and her silhouette standing at my front door, the same door she used to burst through after school, arms full of books, talking a mile a minute. Now she just stood there, still, hesitant, a stranger holding my daughter's face. I opened the door slowly, didn't say anything. She tried to smile. Can we talk? I stepped aside, wordlessly. She walked in like the walls might swallow her whole, took in the living room, the shelf of family photos, her kindergarten art project still pinned beside the stairs, faded but intact. I didn't think you'd answer, she said. I didn't either. We sat. The silence was thick. I could hear the old wall clock ticking. I didn't want it to be like this, she said. I nodded. And yet here we are. She reached into her purse and pulled out a folded piece of paper. I thought it might be an apology. Instead, it was a revised wedding itinerary. I changed everything, she said. It's just a courthouse now. No aisle, no dresses, no speeches. I canceled the big reception. I glanced at the paper but didn't take it. Why are you showing me this? Because I want you there. Even if I screwed everything up, I want you there. I looked at her for a long moment. You made your choice, Maya. I know, she said, her voice cracking. But I thought, maybe if I scaled it back, maybe if I stopped trying to blend 2 pieces of my life, you could forgive me. Her voice trembled like she was barely holding the pieces together. I didn't mean to replace you, she said. I wanted a version of my life where nothing felt broken. I stood up, walked to the window. The sky was gray, quiet, like it was listening. You know, I said, I used to picture that day 100 different ways. But in none of them was I watching someone else take your arm. She didn't answer. I turned back. It's not about the money, Maya. It's not even about Thomas. It's about trust. You let me believe I was enough. And then you handed that moment to someone who didn't earn it. Her eyes welled up. But I wasn't yelling. I wasn't cruel. I was just tired. I didn't cancel the wedding to punish you, I said. I canceled it because I finally understood something I should have learned years ago. She looked up. I can't keep proving my worth to people who treat me like a backup plan. She stayed for another 10 minutes. Asked if we could meet again. Try again. I told her I needed time. That time doesn't reverse betrayal, but maybe it softens the edges. She nodded, and when she left, she hugged me, softly, like she was unsure if she still had the right. And me? I let her. But when the door closed behind her, I didn't cry. I just walked back to the living room, picked up that itinerary, and set it in the trash. Gently, deliberately. She's still my daughter. But some things, once broken, don't go back the way they were. By Sunday, the backlash had gone full public. Someone, I didn't ask who, leaked the courthouse update online. Suddenly, everyone had an opinion. Comments poured in under a Facebook post from Maya's cousin. Small wedding now. Lots of drama. Pray for peace. Peace. The word felt ironic. Underneath were the usual suspects. Distant relatives, old friends, armchair therapists, half of them scolding Maya for disrespecting a good father, the other half calling me controlling, bitter, even emotionally abusive. It wasn't the judgment that stung. It was how easy it was for people who didn't know us, not really, to reduce 23 years to one narrative thread. And then the message came, from Thomas. It was short, almost clinical. I never intended to replace you. She came to me. I just wanted to be there for her. I'm sorry if it hurt you. I stared at the screen for a while. He hadn't changed. Same deflections. Same polished apology that neatly avoided accountability. Not once did he ask what it had felt like, watching the daughter I raised choose a ghost from her childhood. I didn't reply, not because I didn't know what to say, but because finally, I didn't need to say anything. Monday, I took down the wedding board in my office. All the notes, the receipts, the pinned-up seating chart with my name right at the head table, all of it came down. Slowly, like peeling off a bandage you've worn for too long. The last thing I removed was a post-it Maya had left one night while I was asleep at my desk. Thank you for making this real. I love you. M. I stood there holding that scrap of paper longer than I care to admit. Then I folded it in half, pressed it between the pages of a book, and put it on the shelf. Not in the trash. Not yet. Later that week, my sister called. She'd been quiet throughout the whole ordeal, staying out of the firestorm. I saw the post, she said. You doing okay? I paused. I think I'm past the hurt. Now it's just hollow. She was silent for a beat. Then she said, You know you did everything right, right? This isn't on you. I almost believed her. But some part of me, the father part, still asked the same quiet question in the dark. Where did I go wrong? That Thursday, Maya texted again. Just 3 words. Please come Friday? No emojis, no guilt trip. Just a plain, vulnerable ask. I stared at it for a long time. Not because I didn't know the answer, but because I did. Friday came. I didn't go. I woke up early, made coffee like always, sat in the same chair I used to rock her in as a baby, watched the light spill across the floorboards. The house was painfully quiet, like it was bracing for something that wouldn't come. She texted again at noon. We're starting soon. I really wish you were here. I didn't answer. Instead, I opened the drawer where I'd placed the cufflinks, turned them over in my hand, reading the engraving again. Maya's dad, always. Always had started to feel like a sentence. I thought not going would feel like reclaiming something. Dignity, maybe. But as the day wore on, it felt more like grief, a new kind of loss. Not loud, not cinematic, just slow. I found myself checking the clock. 2:15. Probably signing papers. 2:47. Maybe they're taking pictures. Just the two of them, smiling like nothing ever cracked. 3:10. Done. Married. I wasn't even a footnote. That evening, I got a photo. From her. It was just her. No husband in the frame. She was standing outside the courthouse, wind in her hair, holding a small bouquet of wildflowers. She looked beautiful, but not happy, not really. The message said, I don't expect anything from you anymore. I just wanted you to know. I didn't feel right without you there. No pleading, no excuses, just that. I didn't respond, but I saved the photo. I didn't eat that night. Just paced the kitchen, hands restless, thoughts louder than I could stand. I ended up outside, sitting on the back steps, same ones where she used to leave her muddy sneakers. It was a warm night, quiet. I could hear cicadas. I tried to remember the last time I'd felt truly connected to her. Maybe her high school graduation. Maybe the night we stayed up building that IKEA bookshelf for her college dorm and she told me she was scared to leave home. She hadn't been scared this time. She just left. The next morning, there was a letter taped to my door. It wasn't from Maya. It was from Diane. 4 pages, handwritten, elegant cursive, the kind she used to reserve for thank you notes and invitations. It started with, You've made your point. Congratulations. She cried through the whole drive home. But what struck me wasn't the guilt trip. It was this line tucked in the middle of page 2. I warned her this might happen, but she thought love would be enough. Love. Enough. That's the thing, isn't it? I'd spent her whole life trying to be enough, and somehow, I still wasn't. The letter stayed on my desk for days. I didn't reread it, didn't burn it either. Just let it sit there like a verdict I hadn't agreed to hear. Diane's words echoed every time I passed that desk. She thought love would be enough. But the part she didn't say, the part I couldn't stop thinking about, was this. So did I. Sunday morning, I got an email from the wedding photographer. Apparently, Maya hadn't updated the contact list, so I was still listed as the primary client. Attached were 5 low-res preview shots. Courthouse steps. Rings. One where she looked straight into the camera with this expression I couldn't read. Not joy, not regret, just raw. I clicked through them slowly, and then I saw the last one. It was her standing alone, bouquet in one hand, the other hand pressed flat against her chest like she was trying to keep her heart from escaping. I don't know why that one broke me. Maybe because she looked like she was waiting for someone. Maybe because I realized, too late, that I'd raised a woman who still hoped. That afternoon, I opened a blank email draft, addressed to Maya, no subject line. I started typing, deleted it, tried again, wrote 5 lines, erased them. Eventually I just wrote, I saw the photos, and nothing else. Didn't sign it, didn't send it. Just sat there staring at the blinking cursor, realizing this was our new language. Silence, half-finished sentences, words we didn't have the courage to speak anymore. Later that week, I saw Thomas at the grocery store. First time in years. He was alone, standing in front of the frozen meals, scanning them like he might find a conscience among the shelves. He looked thinner, older. He didn't see me, but I watched him for a minute. Not with anger, not even with envy, just curiosity. This was the man she chose to walk her down the aisle. This was the new dad, and he looked lost, just like me. I walked past without saying a word. What was there to say? That I'd built a life out of showing up, and he'd built one on apologies? That she'd accepted his redemption faster than she accepted my presence? No. Sometimes dignity is in the silence. Friday came again. 1 week since the wedding. No calls. No texts. Just the usual automated junk in my inbox. I cleaned the garage. Found the box labeled Maya, baby stuff. I hadn't opened it in years. Inside, her hospital bracelet. A drawing of me with a triangle nose and arms like noodles. A note she wrote in 2nd grade. My dad is strong. He makes pancakes and knows how to fix sad. I sat down on the concrete floor, holding that note in both hands. And for the first time in weeks, I cried. Not out of anger, but because I missed the little girl who once thought I could fix anything. Even this. Monday morning, the voicemail came. Her voice was quiet, measured. No theatrics this time. I know you're not ready to talk. I don't expect you to call back. I just wanted to say, I understand now. Why it hurt. Why you couldn't come. And I'm sorry. For real this time. I listened to it twice. The first time I clenched my jaw. The second time I closed my eyes. She sounded older. Not in years. In weight. Like life had finally started showing her the edges I'd always tried to soften. I didn't call back. Not yet. Instead, I went for a drive. No destination. Just roads I hadn't taken in years. The kind that still had mailbox posts crooked from ice storms. The kind where the radio loses signal halfway through a song. I ended up at the park where we used to feed ducks when she was little. The bench was still there. Same peeling paint, same tree overhead, same creaky metal swings in the distance. I sat down and let the breeze carry every memory back to me, her hands in mine, her laugh echoing off the water, the time she fell and scraped her knee and screamed like the world was ending until I kissed it better. That was before she learned to hide pain behind politeness, before I became someone optional. When I got home, there was a letter waiting. This time, from her, handwritten, 2 pages. No dramatics. She wrote, I didn't choose him because he earned it. I chose him because I thought forgiving him would fix something in me. She admitted she'd hoped it would fill the parts of her childhood that always felt unfinished, that walking with him would erase the years he missed. But the truth is, I didn't need him there. I needed you. I just realized it too late. She ended it with, I'm not asking to be your little girl again. I'm just hoping it's not too late to be your daughter. I set the letter down, sat in the quiet. There was no cinematic swell of emotion. No instant answer. Just the soft, aching weight of what it means to truly forgive someone who tore something sacred. Not out of malice, but out of misguided longing. That night I didn't text her back, didn't call, but I took the cufflinks out of the drawer, polished them, and set them on my dresser. Not because I was ready, but because maybe I wasn't ready to let go either. Saturday morning, I got an invitation. Not to a wedding, to dinner, at her place. Just her, she said. No photographer, no Diane, no Thomas, just us. The card was simple. Handwritten, slipped into my mailbox, probably by her own hand. No envelope, no stamp, just folded once and tucked between bills like it belonged there. I stood in the driveway for a long time holding it. There was a time when she couldn't go a day without asking if I'd come to her school play or soccer game or birthday party. Now she was asking again, but it wasn't the same. This wasn't a child inviting her dad. This was a woman asking the man she'd hurt to come sit at her table. I went, not because I was ready to forgive, but because not showing up again might break something that couldn't be fixed. Her apartment was modest. A tiny balcony, mismatched chairs, a sink that dripped. She'd cooked, or tried to. Pasta, garlic bread, something in the oven that had overbaked just slightly. The place smelled like effort and nerves. We sat. The food was barely touched. She fidgeted with her napkin the way she used to tug on her sleeves when she got caught lying about missing curfew. "Thank you for coming," she said. "I didn't come for the pasta," I replied, a half smile. "I didn't think you did." We didn't dive into the pain. Not right away. We talked about her work, her cat, how she still burns toast. I told her about the neighbor who installed Christmas lights in July, just to feel something. We laughed quietly, like two people trying to remember how to speak the same language. Eventually the pause came, that long silence where real things live. "I know I broke something," she said. "You did," I said. "I don't expect it to go back." I nodded. "Good, because it won't," she swallowed. "But can we build something new?" I looked at her for a long time. This woman with my eyes and her mother's chin and a heart caught between guilt and hope. And I said the only true thing I had left. "I don't know, but I'm here." We didn't hug goodbye, but when I got to the door, she said, "Wait." She reached into a drawer, pulled out a small box and held it out. "I had these made before the wedding. I wasn't sure you'd ever want them." Inside, another pair of cufflinks. This time they just said, "Still your daughter." Weeks passed. Not much changed. At least not on the surface. We didn't start calling every day. There were no dramatic reunions, no grand gestures, just a slow, awkward rhythm of rebuilding. A text here, a coffee there, a silence that didn't feel quite so sharp anymore. Trust doesn't return like a flood. It seeps in like sunlight through old curtains. Soft, hesitant, easily lost. But it was coming back. In pieces. One Sunday morning, I found myself fixing the leaky sink in her kitchen. I hadn't planned to. I was just dropping off a box of her childhood things she'd asked about. But she was struggling with the wrench, and I knew the look on her face too well. Frustration wrapped in stubborn pride. So I got on my knees and twisted the valve, just like I used to. When I stood up, she was watching me. "You always just know how to fix things," she said. "Not everything," I replied. She nodded. "But you try." That night, I sat at my kitchen table. The wedding folder still sat on the shelf, unopened since everything fell apart. I finally pulled it down, not to mourn, not to relive, but to let it go. I flipped through the pages, the receipts, the timelines. The speech I'd written, the one I never gave, was still there. Halfway through, I stopped. One sentence stood out, written months ago, before the storm. "No matter where life takes us, you'll always carry part of me in you." I tore that page out, folded it, slid it into an envelope. No address, no stamp. Just left it on her doorstep the next morning before she woke up. This isn't a story with a perfect ending. We're not healed. Not entirely. There's still too much unsaid. Still moments where I look at her and remember what it felt like to be replaced. But there's something else now, too. A quiet understanding. A shared scar. And maybe, just maybe, the beginning of something neither of us had before. A love that survived being broken. Not because it was perfect, but because we chose to rebuild it anyway.